All right, Shalom. We are going to take just a moment or two to get everything up and going and moving the way it should be. And wait just a minute that we could put this into where it needs to be. And I'm also going to put an invite in the chat. So if anybody wants to join and be a part of that, we will do as well. Shalom and welcome. We're going to try to put this into the chat. And that way, if anybody wants to join and be a part of, they can as well.
You're late.
I know it. Late again. Trying to get everything going and moving and working.
Yeah, I know. You can get a little piece of that lunch.
That's right.
Are you going to post? So you're going to post it then in the Lavav chat group thing?
No, if you would, please do so.
I can do that.
All right.
I can do it. I can do it. I can do it.
All right.
Now, what is this called? This is part 3 of
part 3, casting lots.
Casting lots. Okay.
So we're going to try to find more in depth on casting of the lots. What can we do? What should we do? What does it look like? All that good stuff.
Casting lots.
So today.
The whole cell phone.
We are.
Where is open? Okay. Oh, let me put the password in there. Okay, dokie. I have done this thing that you have requested of me.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. We'll get
Let me get up with Melissa and get her in here.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, remind me. Like, okay, I always do. All right. Let's see here now. You gonna wait for Steve? You know Steve will show up.
Yes.
And he won't want to miss it. He likes this. Melissa, let's see. She'll be coming. Oh my goodness. We are live. We are live.
Not Memorex. What do you think about that?
Remember, that's right. You remember those commercials?
Yes.
Is it live or is it Memorex?
Right.
Do you remember those, Miss Stephanie?
Yes, I do.
Are you old enough?
Yes, unfortunately, I am.
You don't look very old. You don't look like you're out of your 30s.
She ain't. She's like 27. She's just a youngster.
Good grief, Brother Greg. She does. She looks very young. I know she's a lot younger than I am. She's probably young enough to be my daughter, technically. Okay.
All right.
Well, Melissa has not seen the invite I sent her, so you do get started if that's what you want. That's fine.
I'll wait another minute or two. I was actually trying to find the Dead Sea Scrolls PDF so I could put it on the screen for this, but I could find the pay for versions, but I didn't really want
I've got a PDF of the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Oh, do you really? Of the
let me check. Let me double check my files and see. let's see here. Bible study. Dun, dun, dun. I'm a looking. I know I've got Qumran K4, the calendrical texts.
I am looking for the temple scroll.
Oh.
11Q19.
I'm pretty sure I've got the temple scroll. Let me do a quick search here.
All right.
Temple scroll. There. Oh my. Let's have a see. Well, I must have named it. What else would I have named it? Okay, I have, here's one. Dead Sea Scrolls. Oh, no wonder. It's in its own little folder. Oh, which is empty. Dead Sea Scrolls. I have Enoch. Let's see. Dead Sea Scrolls. What are you looking for now?
The temple scroll.
Which number is it?
11Q19 through 21 and 4Q 524.
I don't know what this is. It's not. How about I just send you the whole thing and then you can.
Oh, sure.
You might be able to recognize it because I know that
All
you're
right.
much more, used to it. Let me see here. Let me get back here. Yes. Share. I'll send it to you in the Facebook Messenger.
Okay.
Something that I can send to. This is a PDF there. Okay. Hopefully it won't be too big for Messenger. It might be, I don't know. If it won't send, then, you're on your own. You'll have to find it someplace else. Well, because it might be the whole thing,
All right.
and it looks like it's having trouble sending it. It might be too big.
Yeah, I think so. Download from Google Play. Ready to get started. All right. I'll just read a little bit out of here, I guess, once we get going.
All right. I tried.
Well, thank you.
I did try.
That's what matters.
I could send you I wonder if the zip version would send. But you don't need it because you've got all that stuff already,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I'll just read it. I just thought I could throw it up on the screen and make it easier
Yeah.
for everybody. Where everybody says, it don't say that. Where'd you get that?
I know. Like me today going, that is a heavy paraphrase, man. I don't have it right in front of me. I'm super paraphrasing.
Right. Yeah, we got the point.
Yeah. Well, I did go back and read a little bit from it to kind of make the point of what I was trying to make.
Yes, you did.
He called out on the ladies. He said, "Come on, ladies, speak up."
Come on, lady, say something.
I know. And Melissa never said anything.
Melissa didn't say a word. I can't
He
believe
didn't
it.
say anything. I'm
Not
like,
a word.
man, thanks for your support.
All right.
Oh my goodness, you're live. Are you recording this?
We are live. We started it. I told you we was live in the chat.
Well, I just thought you meant you were in the room. Okay. Well, you're going to edit all that stuff out when you post it,
I
right?
hope so.
conversation.
That's Melissa's job. She's the editor, right?
Is she? Does she know how to do I bet
I
she does.
don't know. I'm just
She's
saying.
super smart.
See, we have to put her to work. All right, I guess we better go.
Okay.
Where's Steve at? Is Steve showing up?
He's probably out there watering that big plants he hides
Probably.
out of the road. What?
Well, we'll get started. Hopefully he'll show up in a minute. All right. Shalom and welcome. Today we're going to go over part 3 of casting lots, not stones. Get it? We're going to start off with the temple scroll. This is 11Q 19 through 21. Now, after this, once we're finished with the casting lots and we've actually casted lots, I would like to go over the actual Dead Sea Scrolls some more as well, so we can dig into them. But for today's purposes, we are going to go over the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Temple Scroll, and this pertains to casting lots because, we'll just read here. There's a new Moses. If you studied this and went through it, you would probably see why the Pharisees and the Sadducees was Sadducee. It cracked me up. Anyway, that's why they missed the Messiah. They was too book smart, I would believe, in some cases. Maybe not all of them, but some of them was looking for something different. And I think we all know they was looking for a conquering king, but they was looking something even a little more in depth than that as well. Many people were awaiting a new Moses in the Second Temple era, believing that the scriptures prophesied his rise. So the Essenes and the people from Corman, the people that was around, the other sects, if you will, they knew and they had this belief that one was going to come and be a new Moses, right? So in this, it's talking of a new Moses. The basis for the belief was Deuteronomy 18 and 15, where Moses says, Yahweh your Elohim will raise up for you a prophet like me from among your own people. We see this expectation in the Gospel of John, and we see it again in John 1, 19 through 21, where they actually said, are you the prophet? So if you'll see, what they was looking for is another prophet, another one like Moshe, which, what does that mean to this? Well, it means everything, because this prophet would bring in the same thing that Moses brought in. He would come under the same authority, right? So which means he would have to have a priestly garment, and which means he would have used the Urim and Thummim, right? He would use these. He would use the same things that Yahweh incorporated through Moshe and Aaron, right? The temple scroll is possibly to be connected with the shadowy figure known as the teacher of righteousness in the Damascus document text 1 and the commentary. Some of his claims about himself fit the new Moses model, but not all of these, because this prophet is going to be a leader out of the lands. So what they're missing is the same as Moshe came and brought them out. So this is where we get the second Exodus, if you will. This is where we get another Exodus, and this is talking of another like Moses. And a lot of people, Rabbinical, Orthodox, some of these people say that Moses is coming back, or they think this ties into the Enoch and Moses and a lot of that, but that's actually reincarnation. You know, you can't come back. You get one shot, one chance, or then we all should get another shot or another chance. You know, justice is justice, or it's not. Anyway, if the teacher did not himself compose the work, disciples, they are also after his death and in his spirit. The temple scroll echoes the legal doctrines linked with the teacher by writing, such as the Damascus document as well. They also have the Thanksgiving hymns. They have all the things they're just equal to each other, if you will. The temple scroll mandates the construction of a vast temple and surrounding complex. So what they're having, again, is we're seeing the same repeat of Moses and Aaron, the same kind of priestly form happening. It's also documented that in the days of Moses, so shall it be again. And the temple scroll mandates this and the construction of these things. So, in short, without reading too much here, you can go, this is on page 594 through 595, and it continues on. But in short, it's saying the same thing that Moshe did, the same thing that the priest did. There's going to be one who comes and do the same thing, which is very intriguing, because if this is really true, someone is going to be a leader in the second Exodus. So this is what I believe some of the people was looking for in Yeshua. They was looking for a leader out. We all know a lot of them thought they was looking for a conquering king, but these people was looking for someone to lead them out to the second Exodus. And I believe that's what it's referring to. Are you the prophet? You know, a lot of times we don't catch that, but that's what they're asking. I think that's what they're asking him, right? Are you this prophet? Are you the leader? Are you the one that's going to bring us into this land? And obviously that would be someone even different, not to take away from Yeshua and what he'd done, what the state, but that's a whole different thing than another Moses, right? It's a whole different coming of a person who is going to be just like Moses. And that's where our Exodus talks about this going, that they're not going to talk of that Exodus anymore, but in fact, this Exodus. So we go on, and between the temple scroll and the New Jerusalem described in a vision of the New Jerusalem. So this person here is going to lead people out, which means if he's going to lead them out, how's he going to do it? And we all know the Ruach. We all know there's guidelines. We all know we have Torah. We all know we have these things. But in simple decisions or certain decisions, what can we do? Well, that's where the casting lots come in. And this is showing the same thing that Moses had, the same thing that Aaron had, the same things that the Levites had, would be the precisely, as it's called, as it's written here, the same thing. And then it goes on, precisely because of the second constraint, the comparison of the contents of the temple scroll with the laws of Deuteronomy is useful, for it brings our authors new ideas into focus. Oddly, it is often what he does not say the most that clearly expresses his views. So it's talking of another Moses, someone different than Moses, and not Moses himself, but yet the same walking out of a tainted land, the same coming together of a people, and how to do it. And how to do it is actually using the same scriptures handed down to Moshe, right? The same, which would coincide with the Torah. For example, the author has eliminated from his law all passages of certain contexts and certain ones specifically named to Moshe, right? So instead of it just being Moses, now that's left blank for this new coming person. And again, another striking series of omissions occurs whenever Deuteronomy mentions foreigners and sojourners. The temple scroll omits every such passage. So in this new walking out, what it's saying is the foreigners and the sojourners, which would be anybody who comes along, right? Or would this be, question, would this be only, since again, it doesn't mention foreigners and sojourners, would it be that maybe the mark of the beast has happened, the mark of the beast is about, and there will be no foreigners or sojourners, right? So does that make sense? If there's no sojourners here, then that would be maybe a mark of the beast event. Maybe that there is no, because when we read in scriptures, it's got to coincide, it's got to work together, right? So when we read the scriptures that once they've taken the mark of the beast, they're finished. That's all. There is no repentance of that. So could that be that this is what it's talking about, that there will no longer be a foreigner or sojourner? You're either a part of the kingdom or you're not a part of the kingdom. It also omits the such passages, and the author conceives it of Israel and excludes all unconverted foreigners from life in the land, which is very interesting because, again, we as flesh and blood are going to have to go to something or someone to know this, especially if this is one of them sneaky covert things, right? If we don't know, and there's cases on both sides, but just for, argument's sake, let's just say there's a Judas in the crowd, and the Judas says, I'm going to go infiltrate the kingdom group over there, and I'm going to go, try to see where they're going and follow them. Would that make sense in this group that they wouldn't be let in? Because if it's your brother, mother, sister, uncle, daddy, somebody's going to sneak you in the back door, right? People being people, hey, that's my son. My son's coming to camp. My son can come in, right? So with this priestly, camp of watchmen on the wall, then once you have just per se taken the mark of the beast, then they would not be allowed in for any reason for anyone. And what's that got to do with this? Well, then that would come up to, if we don't physically see and know, which we probably will, but just for argument's sake, what if we have to have someone who knows the answer? Casting lots, right? How do you cast lots? If they knew how to cast them then we should know them now. And then some of these things that we just don't know, because I don't think any of us want to believe our relatives or someone close to us or something like that is a Judas. Even though we might know it in our heart, we're not going to want to admit it, especially in public, right? So great news is maybe you don't have to. Maybe we let the casting lots do the job for us, and then we know of what's what, right? So this radical antipathy to the Gentiles appears in a number of the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it seems to stem, at least in part, from the belief that the Gentiles were intricately impure. So again, I would just put that in your hands and do with that what you may. But if someone is taking something, and there's many things, we see today, there's many things that people take and many things people do, or maybe even a cohort thing, like I was saying, maybe that's just my military mind speaking, but if somebody's trying to infiltrate the camp, we see all through history of these things happening. We see all through history of that's what's going on, right? So when they're doing these things, then of course, that's what we get. We get people that's doing things they should not ought to. And this is where we see the casting lots come in from various different things, from the same thing we see with Jonah, the same things we see all through, of what's supposed to be going on, what's supposed to be happening, what we're supposed to do ourselves. And it takes it away from the hated guy in camp. But I just found this very interesting that it talks of this in the Dead Sea Scrolls, and it talks of this new Moses, if you will. And we'll probably get into more of this. Let's see here. I'll stop this, share this. We'll probably get into more. I got a bunch marked here I'm trying to find, I will try to look at that you sent me too, Sister Vicky, and see if I can get this. I'd really like to put this online so you can see it for yourself. But this is where it's coming from, the Dead Sea Scrolls, the Temple Scroll. And it also talks of the Yahad and this new Yahad that's going to come about. So it's very, very interesting, I find, that it's talking of the Yahad and this new Yahad, this new Moses, if you will, and this whole, but it's the same thing as from the beginning. So it's nothing new, so to speak. It's going back to casting lots, the priestly garment, and all these things that we see they did there. So somebody is going to have to know how to do these things. So when it's all restored, and we all know what we're doing, but the biggest thing is everybody, myself included, if we're going to have to follow somebody and this guy comes out with these rocks, and instead of laughing him to scorn, we have to realize it's easy for us to read and go, why are them murmuring, whining little babies? What's wrong with them? They had manna. I mean, it's real easy for us to point out all their shortcomings, I believe, right? It's like, what's wrong with them babies? You know, they was brought out of the land, and yet they want to go back and have melons and lynx, and they want to run back to Egypt. But if we put that in modern today's terms, some people without their iPhone, iPad, McDonald's, cell phone, they're going to lose their minds. And you'd probably be surprised even what a child, and I say child, 15, 16-year-old, still a child, right? Their mind is still very much childlike. But could you imagine a 15, 16-year-old losing their iPhone, their Xbox, their place, whatever their, most loved device is, and then telling them, well, you can have it back if you'll just go stab so-and-so in the back. And it might sound like a far jump, but if you listen to the news, I think there's various people that's killed their parents over money, over things. And yeah, it might be millions or something, but you got to get the millions first, right? You don't just kill somebody, you got to get away with it. So I'm not trying to condone anything of that, but what I'm trying to say is we know what happens. I know people's been shot in the face with a shotgun over $12 from pizza delivery. Insane, right? I mean, just insanity. But for this to be today's terms, I think at the very least we need to dig into the Dead Sea Scrolls and everything we can find and find out, because if this guy comes out with some rocks, onyx stones to be particular, and says this is the decision, and he pulls out one, are we all just going to lose our mind and say that guy there is just right? And according to scriptures and everything I found, again, this one here is yes, and the white is no. And I've been bringing those around with me and just trying to test them out a little bit, asking a question and just saying what happens. I've seen no glow yet, but I'm also studying that out, and we're going to go over that some more, is do they really have to glow? Or is it as simple as we ask the question, and what we have to do, the whole thing, what I'm trying to figure out and find out and present to you is what happened? What is it? How did they do it? And then how should we do it? Because we have to know, if we figure this out, and we have to realize what I see going on is, I think it's very interesting. At the same time, this Moshe character is coming out, and he's going to have the same thing that Moshe had, if not more, dare I say. If he's doing things like this and saying, hey, whatever, somebody's got a good question, give me a good biblical question, anybody, please. I don't. Go ahead. That's not a question. how about, will we find the true calendar? Can we find the true calendar today of Yahweh? Will we be able to find that calendar? The one that Yahweh promotes. So what we do is you reach into here and you say yes or no, right? Now, do they have to glow? Again, that's the studies. That's what's going on. So there you go. Now, the thing about it, you can't, you can manipulate it if you're not careful, but you have to do what you have to do, right? So you have to put them in there. And this is what one of the studies I found is what they're doing. The priest had the pouch and he put these in the pouch. And it was that simple that he put these into the pouch and he asked the question just like we asked. And then it would be the no or the yes. The same thing with the casting of lots, but they could add up to 4 or 6 of these. And then that would just basically go through it faster, right? But that's coming more along in the studies. But today we're just going to try to stick with the temple scrolls and go over a few more things of how and why we should know this. Because again, if this guy comes along and he says, I'm a true prophet and I'm sent of Yahweh, how many people would laugh him to scorn? But what I'm trying to present also on the other side, the Antichrist, the mark of the beast, right? So we see Pharaoh and we see Moses, and we see Moses going to Pharaoh and telling Pharaoh, let my people go. Well, in this case, it may be just the opposite, right? It may be this guy is just going to come out and say, I am the sent one. Well, by scripture, by this, it's all he needs to say, I am the sent one. And we should recognize that is the guy we need to follow. That is the guy that has to say. And then he has these attributes, right? He has these things like this that he may have and say, well, if you don't believe me, here you go. Now, will they glow? Do they have to? That's our questions. Josephus says that 200 years before the temple, they stopped glowing. So is that, is that what has to happen for it to be the sent one? Is that what we have to know that's really yes or no? Or could it just be as simple as that's a yes and that's a no, right? And that's just the way it works. Could it be that simple? Probably. Does it have to glow? Maybe the anti-Messiah's ones will glow. Maybe the duplicates. We have to always be ready and know what's going on. You had your hand up, Vicky?
Yeah, I wanted you to repeat what scroll you're looking for.
Oh, I am looking for the temple scroll. It's 11Q and 19 through 21, and then 4Q 524. I have it.
I sent a link to a PDF. I think it's a PDF of that book that you have there.
Yes.
I sent it to the messenger chat. It's PDF. Now, that's a 1,300 page book.
Right.
So I was trying to go into the PDF and search. That's why I was asking for it be exactly what you're looking for. I'll look and see if I can find it
Right.
for you.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we try to try to get it more legible, readable, I guess, to put it out there. Let's see. How did they use the form of casting lots in the story of Jonah? I believe this is what they used in Jonah. I think that they carried around a little bag like this. It was probably made of leather or maybe cow's hide. It really don't matter too much, but most of the people would have used that. And they could have had multiple, they could have had multiple stones. The real thing is there is a black and white, because it has to be black or white. It has to be a definite answer. But there is no, as far as I can see right now, I'm digging into even more and getting more things. But you can have what I would believe is some of them might have had more. They might have had, multiple, just like this one here I ordered come with 4 of these. So I got 2 each of these, right? So I got 2 of these and 2 of these. And then that way you can have multiple things. And if you're going through a ship, so to speak, or you're going through multiple people, it's just a faster thing, especially if you're going through it, right? Now, what another study and another one says is they would just take these out and throw them in the laps of the men that was there. So if you got this, it's kind of, I think, where we get like the casting straws, but we went over casting straws, why we shouldn't do that and why it's not a, valid form. But if you're using these, then you definitely know, here you go. And they're just, from what I gather, they're just taking this rock and throwing it to the guy. And the guy grabs it. And you don't want to grab this one, right? This is not what you want to see in your hand. You want to see this one, right? Because if you get anything other than this, you're the bad guy. You're the guy that gets thrown off the ship. And they knew so much, they didn't know what to do with him, right? Jonah was the one who said, you're going to throw me overboard. If you want to, if you want to make it, you're just going to have to pitch me over. It's my fault. So, but he didn't admit it. So see, the same things that we see, just thinking out loud, if we do have this new Moshe, if we do see all these things going on, I think we focus on the Antichrist. We focus on the mark of the beast. We focus on, because we're taught to, right? So a lot of things we're focused on is things that we hopefully won't even see that much of, right? If you're in the camp going the opposite direction, then what they did over there is not what we're going to be doing. So, but if somebody's trying to infiltrate, if somebody's trying to get to us, if they're chasing us down, well, we're all going to be protected. Not particularly, because the scripture says you're going to go to prison. It says you got 10 days. So that, we have to put everything together to know. So the whole group is never going to go away. The whole group is always, there's always going to be a remnant, right? There always has been a remnant. There always will be a remnant, even into the end. So with all that being said, if you don't know your cousin, who's a good old boy, who carries a shotgun and supplies deer for the camp or whatever, right? You don't want to know that he's a bad guy, but these can say, who's the guy in the camp that's causing us to lose 10 people a day? Who's the guy in the camp? The same things that they did. If it's not coming by a dream or from a prophet, then these could be that very answer. So, this is a very, very detrimental thing, or could be, if we're going to have the same thing that Moses and Aaron had. Yeah, you toss them. Hey, that's a good one. You want to catch. Well, what they would do is they would just give them to the person, basically. They would like throw them in their lap. And then, because that determined, what I'm saying? If I took these and put them in the pouch, and I had just like this here, where's my other little white one run off to? But if I have like, say, this, it's got to be the even number. If I have, and it could be a bigger pouch, it could be bigger. So if I have all these in this pouch and I'm running through and there's 5 people, well, then I would need 5 of each. And that would make it a very interesting thing. Think about that. If you're tossing these out and each one I pull out is this one for them people, then that's obviously more than chance, right? If there's throwing these in people's laps and everybody's getting one, and one guy gets this one, like in Jonah's case, right? Uh-oh. Well, that's not a happen chance. This guy, and then when he admits, okay, you got me. It's me, right? I'm the one you're looking for. Then, that's what casting lots can be about. It's not just, it goes deeper. Next week, we're going to go into a very, very interesting thing that is, I think, going to blow your mind, because it's blown my mind of what the power, there's the Ruach, to not try to take it lightly, or to not take it lightly, if you will, a lot of these things, and to take it to heart, to know what's going on, because if we're not careful, we can be caught up in things that we just don't, I'm trying to word it nicely. We can be caught up in things that we just don't want to be caught into. There's a lot of things that we can be caught short of. We can be fooled, to just put it to what it is. There's a lot of things that we could actually, it says that for the elect's sake, that he's going to cut the time short. So there's going to be a lot of things happen, a lot of terrible things, a lot of wicked things. And the things that we see are probably going to be nothing, of what we see to come. So with all that being said, we're going to need some righteous answers. We're going to need to know the truth. But without knowing this, how do we trust it? Right? All right. So we got to know what we're looking at, and we got to know what's happening. We got to know what's going on with this. If not, the enemy may be able to, fool us with these things. If somebody comes out with, well, what are they doing with the rainbow today? LGBT, right? What are they doing with these things? And they're switching things that Yahweh made his promise. The rainbow is a promise that we will never be flooded again. So what if the Antichrist comes out with a red rock and an orange rock and tells us it's Skittles, right? So what we have to do, I did see it, but then it went back away.
Okay, let me try it again.
Okay.
Can you see that now?
Yes, now I can see it.
You just tell me when you want me to scroll.
Okay. Yeah, let's do the do you want to read it too, or you want me to read it?
Well, where
The
exactly?
fragment 10, that first part, but if he walks according to my precepts,
Okay.
that one there
Yeah.
does pretty good.
Okay, I can do that. That's fragment 6 through 10. This is actually on, I think it's on page 1050 of the Dead Sea Scrolls
All right.
Bible or whatever. But if he walks according to my precepts and keeps my commandments and does what is right and good before me, he shall not lack one of his sons to sit on the throne of the kingdom of Israel forever. And I shall be with him and free him from the hand of those who hate him and from the hand of those who seek to destroy his life. And I shall give to him all his enemies, and he shall rule them at his will, but they shall not rule him. And I shall place him above and not below, at the head and not at the tail. And he will extend his kingdom for many days, he and his sons after him. They will make smoke, and their inheritances they will consume, but no inheritance the priests, those who sacrifice the sacrifice, the shoulder, and the first fruits of their grain, their wine, and their oil, and the first fruits of all their dues. That was 11Q19 from the Temple Scroll Q4Q.
Could you read the other one too? Fragment 14?
Sure. That's 11. Wait, did I just read that? Oh, no. Okay. Fragment 14, 11Q19. The evil from your midst and all the children of Israel shall hear and fear. If a man passes on information against his people, or betrays his people to a foreign nation, or does evil against his people, you shall hang him from a tree, and he will die. On the evidence of 2 witnesses, or on the evidence of 3 witnesses, he shall be put to death, and they shall hang him on the tree. If it happens that a man has committed a capital offense and he escapes amongst the nations and curses his people, the children of Israel, he also you shall hang on the tree, and he will die, and their corpse shall not spend the night on the tree. Instead, you shall bury them that day. You shall not wear a garment of diverse kinds of wool and linen together. If a man has a stubborn and rebellious son who will not obey the voice of his father or the voice of his mother, they shall lay hold of him and shall bring him out to the elders of his city.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so what I'm getting at is we're going to have to get the biblical thinking. If we, again, we've all been focused on Antichrist, who's the Antichrist, what's the beast going to do, what is the mark of the beast, all these things. But according to these scriptures, what I'm finding is if it happened then, why wouldn't it happen again? And I'm not saying, but just people being people, sons being sons, daughters being daughters. We see all through scriptures, they're there for a reason. There's a reason why we see what happened to Noah. There's a reason why we seen, don't touch the ark or you'll die. Don't do this or don't have strange incense. So what I'm saying, if we are going to go through the second Exodus, and these people may very well be trying to infiltrate the camp, and we, according to that, may be held liable if we don't get rid of them. And I know it sounds horrific, but just like any military operation, if you don't get rid of the problem, will you sacrifice 1,000 people? How many people have to be sacrificed for not getting rid of one problem, one idol, whatever it may be? But also we have to understand, again, what's that got to do with casting lots? Well, if we don't know, and the guy's not going to say, right, if he's not going to admit it's his son, right? I mean, how many guys want to say, yeah, I seen my son bring in a golden calf. I seen my son carrying around this obelisk. My son's got the Christmas tree dragging down, and whatever it may be, that what man wants to admit that's going to happen? And we see that. And that's what we also see this, right? Let it be yay or nay. You let it be yes or no. Anything else is evil, right? So with all that being said, this takes away from that fleshly doing that way. This puts it right in the hands of the judge, right? If that makes sense. This puts us in the hands of Yahweh. We're not going to judge wrongly. We don't need to judge wrongly. We're just going to let the judge do what the judge does, right? But we have to accept this is what the judge is saying. Because if we don't accept this, then is that just as not as much rebellion as anyone else? Well, and hopefully, just like we see in scriptures, once the gig's up, if you will, then it's up, right? If you pull this out and you say, look, if it's your son, it's your son. Then you pull it out. No, it's not that boy. No, it's not that boy. Well, guess what? If there's only one left, it's got to be him, right? So it all goes down to what I'm trying to put into is we need to look more into biblical what we're going to be doing as opposed to what the world's going to be doing. And we also have to be watching for these things because, you know, a few years back, without knowing and studying these things, I'm sure a lot of people, myself, one of them, if somebody brought out some black onyx stone, first of all, I would say that means no. You know what I'm saying? Unless the Ruach inspired me or gave me a different thing, I would say, you know, that just, you know, black is black. That's a bad thing. That's a no. But now through the studies, knowing this means yes, and the other means no, then that alone, it looks like it's got a glow to it. Maybe it's just off the screen. Do you see that? You see it on there? Maybe it's just my lighting. That looks kind of cool. But anyway, we need to go over and we need to know absolute truth, if you will. We need to know, is that what they was looking for? And is that why that question in John? Are you that prophet? Are you, you know, are you the one that's sent for that? Now going on, how long we've been going, but going forward, we have some more shattering scriptures, and I just have to put these up. These are so awesome that it just brings a whole new light to so much of this. So I have another good old ordering thing that came in that I'm sure you will love. I think I showed you these, but I'm going to try to get these out and show them a little bit better. Unless you want to open them up. You want to open them up? There you go. This thing here is awesome. There we go. And it comes with another book. So I got a bunch of these books now of how and what is on this. Now in this study, I know a lot of times we find that there is the stones and what the stones are and all this. In this study, we're going to go over the stones as well. So this, if I can get it over here, this is what this looks like. We need another camera to have the boxing and opening. But what I plan on doing, because we want to be right, and we want to be as right as we can be. With all that being said, we want to put this together the way it should be, right? So check that out. This is the actual size of the breastplate and the stone. And it's actually got a little place here that you can see of where they put this pouch. So this is what it's talking about. It'd be close to his heart. So there would be a pouch here, and this would go in the pouch. And then this is how it was done. So he would put this on and wear it as such. Put this on his chest. You can see that or not, but he put this on his chest, and then this would go in to here. And then these would light up. And in this case, I believe these would light up as well. The stones themselves, to prove they would go out. Now, has that been done away with? Do we have to have that? Or is this only the priestly? You know, we'll get into that a little bit more later. But I do plan on putting this together as best as we can. And these are supposed to be the true stones of what they wore. And then we have these here. Ain't this some beautiful stuff? And these are the names. The left shoulder is Gad, Asher, Issachar, Joseph, Benjamin, and Zephaniah, right? So this is what would be on the left shoulder. And it goes on the left shoulder, and it ties into this. And then on the right shoulder, that ain't making too much noise. And this is all the Paleo Hebrew, what it was actually supposed to be in, right? And it's gold. And the right shoulder stones, the ephod, and this is from Exodus 28, 9 through 12. So you don't think I'm just making stuff up. I know y'all don't, but some people watching this is probably like, dude, what? And I know Shane's one of them. So the right shoulder names is Reuben, Simon or Simeon, Levi, Yehuda, Dan, and Naphtali, right? So this is the names that's actually written on these stones and what they would have actually looked like. And this would have went on the right shoulder. So this goes on the right shoulder. This goes on the left shoulder. So then this is all the ones, and they are actually written. I don't know if you can see them or not. They are actually written in the Paleo Hebrew as well. Ain't this thing beautiful? Could you imagine wearing all this stuff though? Wearing all this stuff out and people telling you. So this is, hey, kind of matches my shirt. Hey, so these would go on the shoulders and those would go on. And then the pouch was made here and went into there. So this is the way that they did casting lots as far as the priestly. And then we're going to go into, again, probably next week because it's getting timely now, but I wanted to show you all these things. This is.
Will you show the backside where the other stones go?
The pouch. It's just a little.
Oh, I see. Okay, that's what I was looking for. Okay.
Yeah. So it's just a place, just like a little pocket that you could put the stones into. So that's what it would look like and where they would go. And then that way you couldn't see if you put the pouch in there and you pull them out, then there's no room for you know what I'm saying? If you're not looking at it and not trying to manipulate it, then there's no room for error. You either pull out one or the other. And especially in this case, there's only two. You're either going to pull out a yes or you're going to pull out a no. So that makes it, very definitive. Yeah, it does match my shirt. That's pretty neat. Now there's another garment that goes with this, but it's pretty expensive. So I don't know if we have to have it all together, but I'm going to try to put it all together as much as I possibly can because I really want this to work and I really want it to be what it should be, right? So these things are awesome too. And these are all separate too. This came separate than the other. I couldn't get it all in one deal type thing. I had to operate all separate. And these are separate than them. And then I got another book in, and let's see. But basically, that's what we're going over is how to do these. And then there's pictures. Well, I wish I could share these things, or be nice to share these things. Look at these pictures of these are the onyx stones of the actual black stones that they would use. So it's just, it's a really simple thing. It's not like it's that you have to have a special stone or a diamond or something. It's just having the right stones. And then there's another teaching about that'll probably be maybe the last ones. What? I don't know. Right. Probably one of the later teachings, or not the last teaching, that we know that somebody picked up stones and he picked up 5 of them, right? So maybe, just maybe, one of those stones, if we can confirm that, but others say that those stones was for his 5 brothers, that he picked up them stones. But could it possibly be that they was a form of casting lots as well, that he picked up the onyx and the white or the black stones to know if his other four brothers would have came up, then which ones, casting lots, should he take out first, or which one should he take out by numbers? But these are just another teaching for another day. Today we wanted to go over this and show you the breastplate, the ephod, the shoulder, what goes on the shoulders, and the names. Because again, want to get the closest that we can possibly piecing this together and putting it together and knowing what we're looking forward to, right? Or what we're going to be able to see. Let's see, trying to look up. X-ray vision, I've seen it, can't confirm or not. Just trying to see if we get any questions or comments or anything that, again, I think we're just going to call that a day. Leave it up to questions and comments, and then we'll shut off the recording. But we do plan on having another next week, and we're going to get a little more in depth of, and I think this is really going to blow your mind because it's really changed a lot of what I'm thinking as well, of what and how this was used. And it's more than, I'll just tell you this, it's more than a yes or no answer, because I think that's what we're coming into next is yes or no, right? But say you have a bigger question, or you have a Greek in your midst, or you have an Aramaic in your midst, or you have a German in your midst, right? What would you tell them, right? If that makes any sense. If you're following along, I hope so. But what I'm trying to get at is, if we go to Germany, say we'll just keep it on the same thing. We come and everybody's saying this here, but they're all speaking in a different language. But they're a group from Mexico, but the prophet man don't speak a lick of Mexican, right? I know, it's a joke, folks. But he don't speak any other language than English, we'll just say, to make it right. He only speaks English. So how's he going to tell these people what they need to hear? Because a yes or no is a real simple thing, right? But what if it's I need to communicate? What if I need to let them know? What if you have to give more than a yes or no answer? Because we see clearly in, I think it's Jubilees and different ones, that it's more than a yes or no. It's more than a yes or no. We'll just leave it at that, right? So we plan on going over that next week. What if it is more than a yes or no answer? And I think that's just, to me, it just blows me away. The yes or no, I'm come to the point of, okay, I can follow, I can track this. If somebody pulls out this and they tell me, I can see it, I can get on board with that, right? But now, what if somebody comes and has a very, very important question, and it's more than a yes or no? And I think we all know there's questions that just are more than yes or no, right? What about my family? What about my this? What about my, there's more than yes, there's more to it than that. And that's what the Torah is about as well, right? There's more to it than yes or no. It's, yes, there is, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not, but there's more meaning to it. There's more reason why you shouldn't do it. Of course, it's because Yahweh says so, but trying to just get to the point is there's more to this than a yes or no. And we're going to try to go over that next week of what happens if it is more than that. And how do we derive that? How do we get that? And how do we get it from these, right? How do we get a yes or no from all this I just showed you? So next week, we will go over that. Yes, Melissa, what you got?
In the book of Revelation, at the end, we're gonna be given a white stone with our name on it.
Right.
And the white stone is what they got when they were acquitted or like not guilty.
Mm-hmm.
So I want the white one.
Be careful what you ask for. You might
But
get
that's
it.
why I've been reading. I got this book sitting here, and everything you're saying keeps reminding me of this book, and it's called These Are the Garments. There's a whole section on those lots, those casting those lots.
Right.
It's not really talking about that. It was just talking about how in the East they would do the casting lots, not just in the scriptures. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like just like they did with Jonah, the same thing.
Right.
But there was something they said, one term came from when they say you're blackballed.
Right.
They got that term from when you would get the black one. They said if you got the black one, you were guilty. You were the one that did it.
Mm-hmm.
They couldn't find out who, stole the last Twinkie there wasn't Twinkies back then, but in my house, it would be who took the last Twinkie. And guess what? It would be the black one, whoever got that black one. So when it
Right.
says in Revelation that we're going to get a white stone, that's what it's talking about. Like we're going to get acquitted. Our name's going to be on there.
Right.
So I'm glad I'm going to get acquitted because I know I'm guilty.
Right. Yeah,
I
I
don't
mean
want to be guilty.
right. And I mean that's what I think they did with Jonah. I think he got this one. He didn't get
Yes,
this.
you're right. Well,
He got this one
I
because
couldn't
this
remember.
represents yes or a guilty verdict. If you get this one, you're in trouble. You don't want this one. You want this one. I want,
You're-
you know what I'm saying? Did you do it? I'm not guilty. You want the white stone,
well,
which
what
is a very intriguing thing that you bring up because, but from just thinking out loud, I always thought that would mean, but actually, if he washes your sins away and makes you white as snow, then this would be the stone that you would want to get, right? This would be the white, not guilty, where this can be considered the guilty or the yes.
Well, what would you really, really, really do if you knew you didn't do something and your luck being what it is, you draw out the bag and you get the black stone? I mean, what are you going to do?
You're in trouble. But in most of
Would
these,
you just say that Yahweh wanted you to take the blame? Or would you just say that was your subconscious pulled out the wrong one? Or, I mean, what would that mean?
well, in most cases that we see, well, every case that we see, they usually fess up. Jonah fessed up. He said,
Yeah, that's right.
he just admitted. He didn't say, I'm not. He could have, he could have said, I'm
It
not
wasn't
guilty,
me.
but then
Yeah,
he probably would have died. We also see when you lie, in this case, just like I think we were talking last night about, you don't lie and Yahweh's not marked. He's not mocked, so if this is done by a true prophet or somebody that's ordained to do it, or it is that case like what I was talking about, if we have this second Moses, if you will, and he pulls us out, and you get this stone particularly, then you're in trouble. You want this one. We always, if it comes down to that, unless, maybe if you want to go out to war or something like that, but still, most people don't want to do that, So I think a lot of it is trusting that he's going to give the right verdict. He's going to give the right judgment. And it's not in the man's hands. It ain't. Now you can manipulate, you know what I'm saying? But that's probably where the priest would die. I mean, I could easily take two of these and put them off camera in the bag and then say, oh, well, you know what? And then, so that's manipulating it. But if it's done right, you're going to show, look, I have this, there's nothing in it. And I'm going to put this one in it, I'm trying to open it, trying to hide it. It looks like it, right? But I have this, and I'm going to put the white one in, and I'm going to put the black one in. and then, whatever the answer may be. But it's just, especially in the prophet's case and going forth, usually, I think in everything that I found, that the guy usually fesses up. The guy usually says, you're right. And even with the king, it was him, his son, right? This group's over here and this group's over here. I mean, that's to accept that. How many people do that? If it's your son, if it's your daughter, if it's your family, a lot of people don't accept that, but you have to accept the righteous verdict of what it is.
So what do you call these again? That I can't pronounce. I just don't want to pronounce it wrong. Is it Urim and Thummim?
Yeah, that's close enough. It's they mean lights and perfection is what they mean as well too.
Right.
So they're, there's more than just a simple rock or a simple stone, but it's amazing that he says, if not, these stones will cry out. So I think there's a lot into those that we just miss, but the Urim and the Thummim is what, or any variation of that is pretty close. Just don't.
So I was reading that it says in 1 Samuel 30:7 through 8, that David said to Abiathar the priest, the son of Ahimelech, bring me the ephod.
Right.
That the reason why was because that Urim and Thummim was inside there.
Right. Right.
And well, this says that if it was black, it would be negative. And if it was white, it would be positive.
Right.
Well,
see, that's the thing with translations, and the thing with even the stones themselves and different things, that you have different ones that say different things. And I always thought, but I think a lot of people they just assume that. They don't study it out. They just assume that white, because it's pure, white is yes. And, because that's what I thought when I first started this out. I just assumed that, hey, white is yes, right? I mean, white's pure, white's holy, white. So it's got to be white. And then when I studied it out, and I know there's people out there, there's some YouTube videos and some people, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, he thinks, but he ain't really studied it out. He just says what I just said. White's pure, so white's yes, and black's no. I'm like, well, wait a minute. that ain't necessarily true. That's just my way of thinking, or your way of thinking. What does it really say? But some people have studied these out and they have found these. They have found evidence of these, and they've also found how they use them, in these books that I got, how they use them and what they use them, and evidence on walls and things, and these, how they used them and how they worked with them and what they said. So this here is Dr. Stephen C. Myers, and he's the one that's put this book here together. And he goes along with the stones on the back of the breastplate.
mm-hmm.
So, there's different, just like anything else, you're going to get different ones, different sayings, but that is exactly what I thought when I first seen them myself. I thought, well, white's pure, white must be yes, black's bad, means no,
So
just like you said, blackballed, whatever. But after studying them, it looks like, from my studies anyway, that it's the opposite.
Was it only for certain people to use, or did everybody have some?
Well, the priest, it started out with the priest, and the priest used them for the matters of the priesthood, for going out, for judgment. Which tribe would go out, when they would come in, and then it became a judgment call. So if they had something that they didn't know, right? If they had this, there's something wrong in the house. This guy's got leprosy. Why has he got leprosy? Who's bringing the leprosy upon us? Well, nobody wants to fess up and say they had a golden earring from the Egyptian goddess Paganess, then, we need an answer. We need to know, because if not, everybody in the family is going to get leprosy. And we don't like that. We don't want that. So we come and we need an answer. So this gave them that answer, and a righteous, instead of like what we get today. Well, this is for everybody in the family type thing, and you just wash your hands, and what I'm saying, the kind of nonsense that we get today. But this is more for a direct answer for things that we can't find or we can't see in the Torah, in the instructions, if that makes sense. But what was another question? Is that it? Go ahead,
I-
Melissa.
What if, well, unless you can't tell us if it's private, but what sort of things have you asked, and what did it say?
I have used my little ones that I showed you before. And actually, should I bring my tent? Because I have a tent in Illinois. That's a revival tent. It's dedicated for church, not anything other than that. It's not for donuts and crumpets or anything. I bought it for the sole purpose of making services, church services, and that's what I use it for. It's a coat, whatever church service. Well, these people wanted me to bring mine and do a tent service there and have a tent service there. We don't know people. You want to know people. You want to believe in people. You want to say, great, yeah, let's do it. And that's what I thought. But I thought, hey, guess what I got in my hands? Guess what I got in my pockets? And guess what I can do? I can ask and see what comes up, right? So I can grab these and see which one do I want. And that's what I did. Should I bring my tent from Illinois? Specifically, because I don't see in Torah, should I bring my tent from Illinois to here? I don't know these people's hearts. I don't know if they want to set up a fireworks shop or they want to set up, you know what I'm saying? So I don't clearly know. Now, without the Ruach directing me and saying, no, don't do it, then I have option 27A, Exhibit 1. And when I did this is what I got, a no. And that's where I took it as a no, because after my studies, I just said, okay, this is no, this is yes. And from that studying and just other things of should I do this or not, and it came up, what I would take the answer is, right? Yeah, it does. It weighs like 300 pounds. It has stakes that's 4 or 5 feet tall that are this big around. It's not an easy job to do. But if it was for a revival, if somebody wanted to have a true revival, then I would do that. I have no problem with it. That's why I got it. But I don't want to do that just to find out that, oh, gee, I just did all this work and carried this and brought it, and nobody even cared enough to show up or nothing happened type thing, right? So I used it for that, and this came up. So I took it as a no. So I don't, I just want to use what I know to use and make the right decisions. There's a couple other things. Some of them are more personal for other people's things. Are they legit? Do they really want a church? Do they really want to have a church? Are they wanting, and the answer was not good, so there's nothing wrong, I don't think, with asking questions like that. I don't think there's nothing wrong with inquiring them, because you don't want to waste your time and you don't want to do, there's also questions that you may not want to know or you don't like the answer. But like with Paula, I prayed for Paula. I wanted Paula to be healed, but I knew what her road was, and I think she knew what her road was. We don't want to hear that. It's not pleasing. That why can't we pray somebody to be healed? Why can't we pray for, what I'm saying? But anyway, before we get too personal, we better stop the internet there. But for anybody else that wants to join, please come next week. And Paula, prayers for her. We're not getting too personal, and I'm sure she's fine with that. But keep her in prayers as well. But those prayers, when he answers us, he answers us. Whether we like it or not, it's still an answer. And that's what a lot of this is about. And I think what we need to come to understand, that we need to know, if nothing else, it's a good learning tool. It's a good thing to know. And if there is going to be this new Moses guy coming along, instead of being so focused on the Antichrist and what he's going to do, we know what he's about: corruption, deceit, death, destroying, and trying to kill us all. We already see that, that's happening regardless. But if there's somebody coming along that says, hey, come and follow me, are we going to do it or not? You know what I'm saying? So till next time, may Yahweh bless you, His kindness shine upon you, and may he grant you shalom. Thank you very much for listening and for watching. Shalom.